Sometimes in the life of sports, you have games that are pumped up, hyped up, and just never live up to what you think that they're going to be. This one lived up to it tenfold. My name is Jason Rain. Welcome to Oklahoma Postgame Live, where Oklahoma got a victory in the Cotton Bowl over Texas, 34-30, in a game for the ages. I think really this game had everything that you could have asked for on both sides of the ball, and we'll get into that certainly as we continue to go. So, thanks for jumping in here. Still live from Dallas, back in the hotel room after the game. So thanks everybody for joining. Make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, notification bell, so that you know when we do go live. Typically, you guys know the schedule. Every Wednesday, Mark and I will go live around 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Typically, we'll do our Friday night stuff in terms of our tailgate live show. Usually Friday afternoon around 4 p.m. And then certainly we'll do our post game live. Typically a little bit after the game, but today, since I was actually attending the game live, did a little bit later. So, woo. I don't even know where to start. I think, number one, you don't want to. One of the things I think that's very important, I think that I tell to my basketball team all the time when we get a big win, don't make this be, don't undervalue, what you were able to accomplish today, and certainly don't overvalue it from the aspect of don't let this be the biggest moment in the season. But my gosh, what a big turnaround! What 12 months makes, just in terms of the turnaround in this program from 49-0 a year ago to winning this game 34-0 with a game-winning touchdown. I think around 15 seconds. I think was around that time. So, whatever question you guys have comments, make sure you guys put those in the comment section. Anything that you want me to answer, I'll be happy to answer that for you as well. And then just go through, what this means for the program, what this means for this season, and I think where Oklahoma can go from here. So I think first and foremost, we talked a lot last night about who this was a bigger game for, Oklahoma or Texas, who it was a bigger game for from a coaching perspective, with Brent Venables versus Steve Sarkisian. I think, the one thing that you have to, is hard from the crimson colored glasses perspective to really take that away. But Texas is a really good football team. Quinn Ewers is a really good quarterback. They've got great players at the skill position all across the board. When you look at the wide receiver group, the running back room, tight ends, offensive line, and then when you look at defensive line, will be the best defensive line that Oklahoma will face all year. And I think very, very likely that Oklahoma will face them again in Arlington. It's hard to see a situation where Oklahoma and Texas don't meet up in Arlington for the Big Ten or for the Big 12 championship. So, let's kind of dive into this, and then we'll talk a little bit more about trajectory for Oklahoma, maybe what Oklahoma looks like from a ranking perspective on Monday, and all that. So, going in yesterday, I think one of the keys was Oklahoma being able to win the turnover battle. Oklahoma forced 3 Texas turnovers. Oklahoma was clean. DG almost had 1 interception early in the game, but that was a drop, thankfully. And so Oklahoma, that was a situation where Oklahoma kicked the field goal in that. So I think setting the tone really early with the Gentry Williams interception, I think was big. Oklahoma needed to get off to a fast start in this game, and they were able to do that, with that interception. Defense played just phenomenal all game long. And I know that a lot of people look at the stats at the end of the day and say, Texas scored 30 points and, had over 500 yards of offense. But anybody that knows where this team came from and how good of a defensive performance this was today will be kidding yourself. There's not very many teams that are going to keep Texas to 30 points, really 23 when you take out the block punt for the touchdown. So a lot of good moments in this game for Oklahoma. The interception early on, then another interception off just a big time hit by Billy Bowman on, I can't remember who that was. I'll have to go back and actually watch the game, since I was live in the stadium. Go back and watch it. But yeah, I think when you looked at that interception and then the fumble forced, in the second half was big time. And as good as Texas is, Oklahoma had some opportunities to really break this game open, and just a couple of opportunities that they didn't cash in on. The Tawee Walker drop at the end of the first half, which would have made the score. I believe the score is 23-20 at halftime, if I remember correctly. Is that right? 23. I'm sorry. I'm going through. I'm going through this in my head. I do believe it was 23-20. I'm sorry, 20-17 at halftime. 20-17. At halftime, and so Oklahoma could have certainly made that a 24-17 score as opposed to 20-17. Oklahoma goes right down the field and scores in the third quarter to make it 27-17. And so there was a couple of situations. There was a missed field goal late in the game that could have stretched the lead to 30-20, really made it a 2-score game in that game. So a lot of opportunities. I know that some of the narrative from the Texas side could be, you've had two of the kids that were out. One was out, and JT Sanders played. I thought he looked okay to me. He didn't look like he was injured. And then the turnovers, I think, is one thing in the Texas. But I think it equals out for me when you look at the turnover game that Oklahoma was able to force. But then Oklahoma gave up a lot in special teams. A couple of fourth down conversions for Texas early on, specifically. As I look, Texas actually went 3 for 4, I believe, on fourth down conversions. Yeah, 3 for 4 on fourth down conversions in the game, and Oklahoma was just 0 for 1. But yeah, again, you've got a couple. There was a fake punt early in the game that Texas cashed in on. Obviously, the block punt early in the game, Texas recovered in the end zone for a touchdown. Missed field goal by Zach Schmidt late in the game. So Oklahoma left a lot on the field from time to time throughout the game, but still they cashed in where they needed to. Was really a bend but don't break defense. Both Oklahoma and Texas were 5 out of 14 on third downs. Texas actually outgained Oklahoma 27-486, but still, I think the fact that yesterday when we talked about this, I had said that if Oklahoma can rush for 100 yards in the game, I think that they would win the football game. And they ended up running for 201 yards, and Texas ran for 156. Now, I'm bullish on this Texas team, so I don't want anyone to come away from this game, and probably you don't, but anyone come away from this game and think that, Texas wasn't as good as we thought that they were. Texas was just typical overrated. No, this team is different. This Texas team is different. They are loaded up front on both sides of the ball, and Oklahoma just came to play and played really, really well in this game overall. really well. Offense and defensive lines. Oklahoma had 5 sacks on Quinn Ewers, which, again, was a key to this game. Oklahoma's ability to be able to rush the passer, get some pressure on him, force some mistakes, in which they did. I think early on that, there was a little bit of pressure on that interception that Gentry Williams got early on. The interception off the big hit. Obviously, that was a good pass and catch. Just a really great defensive play by Billy Bowman Coleman, and then the fumble was a really nice hit and recovery again by Gentry Williams there. So I think for me it's very, very satisfying to see Oklahoma win one of these games and play good defense and play really, really solid defense across the board. Again, this is a Texas team that I don't think anyone's going to hold them below 30 this year. I would be surprised if anyone does, through the regular season. So, and then moving to the offensive side of the ball for Oklahoma, as I mentioned, ran for 201 yards, and Dillon Gabriel, I think, even me to a certain degree, but there's a lot of fans, out there that consistently give Dillon Gabriel a hard time. Even me, I've kind of just said that he is who he is. He's not a guy that's going to be able to put you on, you put the team on his shoulders and win the game. I was wrong. He did that today. He was incredible. He put this offense on his shoulders, and he went and won the football game offensively for the Sooners. 23 out of 38 for 285 yards through the air, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, 14 carries for 113 yards, 398 total yards from scrimmage in this game. So absolutely excellent performance. Best game the DG has played in the Sooner uniform. I mean, against high-quality competition by far. So he's put 2 really, really great games. I think the way he played against Iowa State and the way that Oklahoma played, that he played for Oklahoma's offense today against Texas. Tawee Walker ran hard, 15 carries for 46 yards. Really ended up being more the lead back in the second half. I know Marcus Major was in there a lot, but he ran the ball, had more carries, certainly. Gavin Falchuk only had the one carry. Javante Barnes was not in the game that I remembered at all. He did look like, watching him through warm-ups, he did look like he was running around fine. So maybe it's just one of those things he's still kind of getting getting in the groove of things. So Jalil Farouk led with receiving, 5 catches for 133 yards. Drake Stoops, 4 catches for 55. Had a couple of nice, really big time catches. 2 of his 4 catches were, in that last play. That last drive for Oklahoma. Andrew Anthony had 5 for 42. Austin Stogner, 3 for 24. Tawee Walker had 2 for 14. Should have been 3. And then Nick Anderson, 1 catch for 3 yards, but the biggest play of the season for Oklahoma in that 3-yard little scramble drill. Thought the offensive line played their best game of the season. Again, you've got 3 big-time NFL guys on the defensive line, maybe 4 for Texas when you look at Kevondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, Alfred Collins. Those guys are really big-time players for Texas, and Oklahoma held their own. Specifically, when you saw that McCade Tower went out early on in the game with an injury. I don't think it's serious. There's a question here from Martin Chase. Thanks for jumping in here, Martin. I haven't heard anything specifically, but I did see that it doesn't look like it was anything like season-ending or whatever. I think that the good news is you saw Caden Green come in and play well, played really, really good in this game for Oklahoma, And then offensive line, like overall, one of the things that is I want to make sure is not overshadowed is the fact that on that last touchdown pass to Nick Anderson, Walter Rouse had to block two guys simultaneously, and he did it to give DG a little bit more time in the pocket, and DG didn't panic or anything. He took his time and knew he had Nick Anderson in the back of the end zone. Linebacker didn't really cover him out there because he was in motion from the right side of the formation to the left side of the formation, and really just a really good find for DG in this game. And again, you put up 34 points against this defense, which is going to be the toughest one of the toughest defenses in the country. Not only that, but certainly the toughest defense that Oklahoma is going to play the remainder of this season. When you look at schedule wise, so yeah, like I said, just absolutely big time performance. Bill, thanks for the comment. Heck of a game. It would have sucked to lose this one. Oh, you needed this one, absolutely. So, and Martin, in terms of your injuries, I kind of mentioned McCabe. The two injuries was that one, and I believe Gavin Freeman was the other big one. Big injury. I think. So I know that he was carted off the field. Don't know the extent of it, but once I do, I'll make sure that you guys are updated. I haven't heard any real injury report. I'll kind of scour here while we're talking to just see if I hear anything like that. But now, when you look at what this what this looks like for Oklahoma, am I the only one that thinks Walker should start over Major? I mean, I think right now, they're a pretty good complement to one another. They're not. I don't think. They're not what you would call. Either one of these guys aren't what you would call like Oklahoma level big time running back. Not in the the Joe Mixon, Samaj A.P. Ryan, Adrian Peterson, Kennedy Brooks stable of what you would expect in terms of a running back. But I think probably Tawi Walker is the better of the two, I would say. He's probably and I think it'll be one of those situations where it really looks like whoever has the, kind of the hot hand and whoever's running the ball well and, playing all sides, all parts of the game the best. The only thing Tawi Walker did wrong in this game is the drop on the, what would have been an easy touchdown, obviously towards the end of the first half. But yeah, I think, I think he's at least earned, that starting spot against UCF for sure. So what does this look like tomorrow, rankings wise? I think this is right now for Oklahoma in this win. It's at the very least the second best win in the country this year. I think right behind Texas's win at Alabama, particularly with how Alabama's playing right now and that victory they got over Texas A&M. But it's the second best win. So I think you'll see Oklahoma anywhere from number 5 to number 7 tomorrow. You would like to think that they would, that they would jump so far as to go to number 5. Anywhere in that neighborhood is what I would expect. You've got big time game between Oregon and Washington next Saturday. The loser of that one gets, a little further behind, especially if if Oklahoma doesn't jump a team like Washington. But I think they're right there. I would anticipate 5 or 6. That would be what my thought is. And so now what you look for, I think a lot of people before the season and even this week, maybe chalk this one up as a loss and thinking Oklahoma could still, get to that 10-2 11-1 area, and if they're still 10-2, 11-1, they have an opportunity to get to the Big 12 championship game. But I think right now with this win, the way Oklahoma's playing, and really kind of the relative weakness in terms of the overall Big 12 conference, I think you have to think that 12-0 is a possibility. Not saying that this is what's going to happen, but Oklahoma right now would be a considerable is going to be a considerable favorite in every game the rest of the season until you get to the Big 12 championship game. I think you've and just kind of running down the schedule, you've got a couple of tricky road games, but still games against teams on the road that you are absolutely better than, and you should. Sorry, that 5 a.m. wake up call is getting to me. But teams that you're certainly better than, and Oklahoma will have a week off next week, and then they host UCF, and then you've got 2 back-to-back road games at Kansas and at Oklahoma State. And Bedlam. Texas showed me. Oklahoma State showed me a little bit last night in their victory over Kansas State. I don't know if that was more about Oklahoma State or more about how bad Kansas State played in that game. But Kansas right now looks like maybe the toughest opponent. They put up almost 400 yards of rushing today on UCF. So you get a week to kind of, if you're Oklahoma, get healthy, rejuvenated, for the stretch run. As I mentioned, you got Kansas and Oklahoma State back to back. You come home to host West Virginia, and who's really been a kind of a bright spot for the Big 12 overall. Played much better than anticipated. Then you go to the next to the last game, go to BYU, and then host TCU. To end the season, and then kind of likewise, if you want to look at it from the Texas perspective, again, they got next week off as well. They will go to Houston, host Texas, host Kansas State, go to TCU and Iowa State, and then host Texas Tech. So would not be surprised to see a 12-0 Oklahoma versus 11-1 Texas with a winner having an opportunity to go represent the Big 12 in the football playoffs. If Oklahoma could stay 12-0, you could see a scenario where they could still make the playoffs, even if they were to lose that game in Arlington, much like TCU did a year ago. We'll see how everything plays out nationally. If that's a situation where that could happen again. But the schedule is favorable. You still got to go out and do it in a couple of environments that are going to be tough. Certainly, you got Kansas, BYU, and Oklahoma State. Those are the 3 road games left in the season for Oklahoma. Certainly. So you sit back for a week and you host UCF, a team that is, not, they're what I think they're 0-3 in conference now. They lost their game, their first game against Kansas State, and then they had a big lead against Baylor. They let that one slip away in dramatic fashion, and then they got beat pretty bad today. Against Kansas. Let's see what that final score was. 51-22. And then they had a couple of late scores. They meaning UCF in that game. As well. So yeah, Kansas ran for over like 399 yards in that game. So Oklahoma is in a good spot, next week as well. So really exciting stuff for Oklahoma. You've got everything in front of you now. The difference is, I think first before we go there, Um, I think it was really it was pleasing to me to see Oklahoma win a game like this and not have to outscore the opponent, um, in the 40s or the 50s and just have no defense. That wasn't the case today. Oklahoma played really well defensively for 4 quarters. Um, and these teams are so good that you're going to score some points, um, without a doubt. Um, and I think and I'm glad someone brought this up as well. But the goal line stand was one of the things, for me, that was just so incredibly awesome and just neat to be able to witness in person. Um, you know how a lot of times in the past that is a situation where Oklahoma's defense just kind of just defers to the fact that, okay, they're here at the 1 yard line, they're going to score, so let's get the ball back to our offense. Not with this team, not with this defense, not with the culture that Brent Venables. I thought Brent Venables in game was really, really good. I think last year there were some times where clock management was an issue, was not today. Timeouts that he used there late in the first half, to get Oklahoma possession, there to go down there and score. I think the timeouts that he utilized late in the game, um, just to save a little bit of time, there was really big as well. Gave Oklahoma, I think they had around minute 12, minute 21, there in that final drive, which was big. It was one of those things where, on the fourth down play to kick the field goal to go up 30-20, that's the right play. That's the right call. And I'm not second guessing him by any stretch of the imagination. It was a tough call one way or the other. Obviously, hindsight is 2020. After he misses the field goal, you think that, oh yeah, we should have went for it in that situation. But the field goal is the right play. You make that field goal. And I think at that point there was like 8 or 9 minutes in the game. You're forcing Texas to go score twice in the matter of 7 or 8 minutes to go, and that's the right play. Now, with our limited ability just in terms of our kicking game, I thought he might accidentally go for it there, but that was just the play right after the injury to Freeman, and I think he probably felt like it was a better move to kick the ball, and which it was. But anyways, I think Venables clearly has taken some feedback on his clock management skills. Like I said, did a really, really good job in this game. I thought was the better coach. I thought really outcoached Sark in a lot of ways. Texas has a ton of talent. They're probably more talented than Oklahoma, but I think the coaching and just just kind of the will and the determination really kind of took over. It's not as I don't think the talent differential between Texas and Oklahoma was as substantial as a lot of people nationally wanted to make it seem. But you'd still give the talent edge individually to certainly to Texas in this game, but Oklahoma played just really, really well as a team, and did some great things in this game, without a doubt. So. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else to say other than, there'll be some more things that I'll be able to, kind of pinpoint as I watch the game again. But just an excellent game. Oklahoma fans brought it today. It always is, but it was an absolutely electric atmosphere. Oklahoma fans, I was able to be down there for game day this morning. Oklahoma fans were really loud. Oklahoma was ready. I think this was the moment that a lot of Oklahoma fans looked at after what happened this year to see, okay, is this team, and I'm not going to use the word back. I think, is this team is Brent the right guy for the job? Do we have the right quarterback? Are we moving in the right direction? Yes, you won these first 5 games against teams that you were supposed to win these games against. Now you play the toughest team on your schedule, and how do you play in that game? How do you react in that atmosphere when things are going well, when things are not going so well? And just a tremendous job. So I think this has answered a lot of questions in terms of the trajectory for this team going into the SEC. I had kind of remarked at halftime, no matter what happened in the second half with Oklahoma up 20-17, no matter what happened in the second half, you just love what you saw from Oklahoma in this game. They were clearly belonging in this group. So now it's a different situation. Now it's a different idea. Oklahoma was 6-7 a year ago. Not a lot was expected of this team. Many people didn't pick Oklahoma to make it to the Big 12 championship game this year. Many people didn't think that Oklahoma would compete in this game at a high level. Now, many people just thought that this was the team that 8-4, 9-3, 10-2, one of those types of situations, and you look at that, and now you say, now Oklahoma is the team that is back where we are accustomed to seeing Oklahoma, just in terms of Oklahoma's maybe not necessarily the favorite for the playoffs, the favorite for a national championship, but Oklahoma's now back. They're outside of the underdog situation now. Now they're the favorite. Now they're the hunted. How does this team accept that? How does this team play off of those expectations? Now, I think they had a lot of those expectations internally, but now nationally, there's going to be a full 2 weeks of everybody patting them on the back and telling them how good they are. I'm so interested in this UCF game and against the team. Now, I know the UCF factor, I think, will have some certainly motivation for probably Dylan Gabriel, and that's all. Maybe Jeff Lebby. There's a lot of familiarity with these programs with DG and Jeff Lebby. But how do you come back after that? After a team, top 5 team, get, like I said, just patting yourselves, being patted on the back, just telling you for 2 weeks how good you are. How do you come back from that? So a lot of stuff to continue to get into, and we will get into that this week. Mark and I will go into this game a little bit deeper on Wednesday. Make sure you can catch us 11:30 Central. We'll go from 11:30 to 12:30. We'll really just break this game down as Oklahoma goes through the off week. Martin, just one more thing here. So I made a tweet last year after what would have been the third game of the year, after Oklahoma played Nebraska, and said that it took Brent Venables 3 games to fix what Riley broke in Grinch. Really, I mean, it's more Grinch's defense than anything. And I don't know if I was the jinx or whatever it was, but the defensive play went downhill from there. I think it's fairly safe to say at this point, through 6 games and how they've played, that to your point, Martin, the Brent Venables influence on this program, on this team, on this culture, people have bought in. And you're dealing with it's a whole new team, but it's not. A lot of them aren't BV's players. You know what I mean? You've got a couple of rounds of recruiting, but still, there's still more players that will. There's still some holdover from from the Riley. Not a ton, but there's some. And so I think the best is yet to come. I think this we'll continue to see how this team focuses and how they play. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just an outstanding game, outstanding defense. And you're right, Martin. The culture has changed, and you can absolutely see that without a doubt. Um, Thanks for jumping in, Dow. Boomer Sooner. So, okay, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for tonight. Thanks, everybody, for jumping in this evening. Enjoy watching the remainder of the games this evening. Enjoy all weekend. Take the weekend and enjoy this Oklahoma win over Texas and what was just one of my favorite games I've ever watched, and certainly one of the best games I've ever had the opportunity to attend in person in this OU Texas rivalry. So everybody enjoy your night. Boomer Sooner, and God bless.